Tucked between two ranches outside Brooksville, Florida, there's a cemetery many people pass without ever realizing it's there. No steady traffic, no city noise, just cattle grazing beyond a fence line and pine trees standing watch. This is Twin Lakes Cemetery. Established in the late 1800s as a burial ground for the local African American community, it holds more than 200 graves. Most of them unmarked. And today we're walking through a place that carries the weight of segregation, resilience, and memory. Twin Lakes wasn't just another rural burial ground. In older records, it was identified as a colored cemetery, language that reflects the harsh realities of segregation in the South. During Jim Crow, Black residents were often barred from white cemeteries, even in death. So communities built their own sacred spaces. This land became one of them. It served generations of Black families in the Brooksville area: farmers, laborers, church members, parents, children, people whose names shaped this region even when official histories didn't always record them. Standing here now, it feels secluded. But once, this was central to a living community. When Dusty and I first came out here, what struck us wasn't fear. It was stillness. The cemetery sits beside ranch land. The only traffic during my most recent visit was cows grazing along the fence. There are visible headstones, some upright, some leaning, but far fewer than the number of documented burials. Most graves reveal themselves only through subtle depressions in the earth, slight rectangular shifts in the soil, faint outlines beneath pine needles. According to survey notes in the U.S. GenWeb archives, many graves here lack tombstone data. Some were likely marked with wooden crosses or simple field stones, materials that do not survive Florida humidity for long. Wood rots, paint fades, names disappear, but the burials remain. The absence of markers isn't neglect, it's context. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, professionally carved headstones were expensive. For many Black families navigating segregation-era economic barriers, simpler markers were the norm. And those markers were never meant to last 150 years. What was meant to last was community memory. But when descendants relocate, land changes hands, and rural populations shift. That living memory can thin. Across Florida, forgotten Black cemeteries have been rediscovered through modern technology. In Tampa, Zion Cemetery, founded in 1901, was built over before nearly 200 graves were identified using ground-penetrating radar. At Ridgewood Cemetery, 145 graves were located beneath what became a school campus. Twin Lakes was never paved over. It wasn't erased that dramatically. Instead, it faded quietly, which somehow feels just as heavy. When you find a legible headstone, even one, everything shifts. A name anchors the air. Suddenly, this isn't 200 unmarked graves. It's individuals. People who lived through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow, through the Great Migration, through decades where their stories were rarely centered in official records. This cemetery represents more than loss. It represents permanence. Even in segregation, even in exclusion, this community carved out sacred ground and declared, "We were here." Unlike some rediscovered cemeteries, Twin Lakes is not abandoned. According to archive notes, it remains in use. That continuity matters. It means descendants still return, still honor, still remember. The pine trees may lean, the cattle may graze beyond the fence, but this ground is not forgotten by those who know it. Places like Twin Lakes remind us that history isn't only written in textbooks. Sometimes it's written in shallow depressions in the earth, in leaning stones, in silence between ranches, in the fact that more than 200 lives rest here, whether their names are visible or not. If we don't walk these spaces, if we don't tell these stories, if we don't say their existence out loud, the silence gets louder. If you believe history deserves witnesses, subscribe and join us as we continue exploring Florida's forgotten corners, one back road at a time.